Welcome back, you beautiful nightmare. Yeah, you, sitting there thinking you're just another face in the crowd, just another story nobody cares about. Let me stop you right there. Because if you could see what they see when they look at you, if you could feel what happens in the room when you walk in, if you could hear the silence that follows your name when it's mentioned in conversations you're not part of, you'd understand why they can't sleep. You'd understand why they refresh your page. You'd understand why your absence haunts them more than your presence ever did. They see something in you that you've been trained to ignore, something that makes their comfortable little realities start cracking at the edges, something that reminds them of everything they're not and will never become. See, you've been looking at yourself through your own lens, haven't you? Through the mirror of your failures, your mistakes, your moments of weakness. You see the crying at 3 in the morning. You see the times you didn't speak up. You see every moment you felt small, but that's not what they see. That's not what keeps them up at night. What they see is something far more terrifying. They see someone who's been through hell and didn't just survive, but learned the language. They see someone who's felt pain that should have destroyed them, but instead forged them into something unrecognizable. They see eyes that have stopped asking for permission, a presence that doesn't negotiate, a silence that speaks louder than their screaming ever could. You think you're ordinary. You think you're just trying to get through the day like everyone else. But here's what they know that you don't. You're not like everyone else. You never were. And the moment they realized that, the moment they saw that flicker of something ancient and unstoppable behind your eyes, that's when everything changed. That's when you became the problem they couldn't solve. That's when you became the name they can't stop saying. That's when you became the presence that altered every room you entered. They're not watching you because they care. They're watching you because they're terrified of what happens when you finally see yourself the way they see you. Let me paint you a picture. There's a version of you walking around in their heads, rent-free, taking up space they desperately need for their own sanity. This version of you doesn't match the one you know. This version is dangerous. This version is unpredictable. This version has already won games you didn't even know you were playing. When they think about you, and trust me, they think about you constantly, they don't see your insecurities. They see someone who survived their worst and came back sharper. They don't see your doubts. They see someone who learned to trust themselves more than any external voice. They don't see your pain. They see the weapon that pain created. You want to know the truth. The uncomfortable, earth-shattering, reality-bending truth. You scare them. Not because you're mean, not because you're aggressive, not because you've done anything to them. You scare them because you represent the one thing they can't control, can't predict, can't manipulate. You represent someone who's already died inside and came back without needing their approval, their validation, their friendship, their love. You represent freedom they'll never taste. And free people are dangerous. Free people don't follow scripts. Free people don't react the way they're supposed to. Free people make everyone else realize they're still in chains. Now let's talk about what happened while you were busy healing in silence, while you disappeared, while you went quiet, while you stopped posting, stopped showing up, stopped explaining yourself. They built a mythology around you. Yeah, you heard that right. They turned you into folklore. Every time your name came up, and it came up often, they added another layer to the story. Did you hear what happened to them? I heard they completely changed. I heard they don't talk to anyone anymore. I heard they're different now. I heard they're not the same person. And here's the sick part. They're right. You're not the same person. But what they don't understand is that you didn't change. You evolved. You didn't become different. You became honest. You didn't transform into something new. You finally stopped pretending to be something you never were. And that authenticity wrapped in silence, that's what turned you into legend. Because most people spend their entire lives performing, dancing for approval, shaping themselves into whatever gets them accepted. But you stopped performing. You stopped dancing. You stopped shaping. And the moment you did, you became undefinable, uncategorable, uncontrollable. They tried to figure you out. Oh, they tried so hard. They analyzed your old messages looking for clues. They stalked your social media, searching for answers. They asked mutual friends about you, fishing for information disguised as concern. But every search came back empty. Every investigation led nowhere, because you'd already left that version of yourself behind. You'd already burned the manual they were trying to read. You'd already rewritten your entire code while they were still looking for the original software. And nothing terrifies people more than someone they can't decode, can't predict, can't fit into their neat little boxes of understanding. Let me tell you what's really happening in their group chats, in their late-night conversations, in their quiet moments of reflection. They're comparing everyone they meet to you. Every new person is measured against the memory of your presence. Does this person have that same intensity? Do they have those same eyes that see through lies? Do they have that same energy that makes you question your own reality? And the answer is always no. Because you weren't just a person to them. You were an experience. You were a mirror. You were a test they failed. And now they're stuck chasing ghosts, trying to find someone who makes them feel the way you did, trying to recreate something they destroyed with their own hands. You know what's funny? They talk about you like you're a warning. Be careful with that one. They're not like us. They don't play by the rules. They don't care what people think. They're cold now. They're different. But what they're really saying is this: that person figured something out that we're still too scared to learn. That person escaped the prison we're all still living in. That person became free, and we're terrified of what that means for us. Because if they can do it, if they can break free, if they can become untouchable, then what's our excuse? Why are we still here? Why are we still playing these games? Why are we still slaves to opinions that don't matter? Here's the reality. You just leave their circle. You left their dimension. You didn't just cut ties. You cut cords to an entire frequency. You didn't just move on. You ascended, while they stayed stuck on the same level, having the same conversations, playing the same games, living the same loops. And now when they look at you, when they see you from afar, when they catch glimpses of who you've become, they're not seeing a person. They're seeing proof. proof that their comfortable little world is a cage, proof that their rules are imaginary, proof that someone can survive without the things they feared. And that proof is eating them alive. They created a legend when they lost you, not because they wanted to, but because they had no choice. Because the only way they could explain your absence was to make you larger than life. The only way they could justify their mistakes was to paint you as something otherworldly. The only way they could sleep at night was to convince themselves that losing you wasn't their fault, but rather an inevitable result of you being too much, too intense, too different. So they made you the villain in their story, the monster in their narrative, the chaos they barely survived, not realizing that every word they spoke, every story they told, every warning they gave was just adding to your power, was just making you more mythical, was just ensuring that your name would echo long after theirs faded into forgettable noise. Let's get into the uncomfortable part, the part nobody talks about, the energy. Because you've felt it, haven't you? When you walk into a room and conversations shift, when you speak and people lean in without realizing it, when you go quiet and suddenly everyone's uncomfortable, that's not in your head. That's not paranoia. That's real. You carry something now, something you picked up in the darkness, something you forged in the fire, something that can't be taught or learned or copied. You carry the energy of someone who's already survived their worst nightmare. And people feel that on a cellular level, on an instinctual level. They feel it in their bodies before their minds can process it. It's why they get nervous around you even when you're calm. It's why they watch their words even when you haven't said anything threatening. It's why they can't hold eye contact for too long, because somewhere deep in their survival instinct, somewhere in the ancient part of their brain that knows danger when it feels it, they recognize what you are. You're someone who's been to places they're terrified of going. You're someone who's faced things they run from. You're someone who's survived battles they didn't even know existed. You see, most people walk through life with their masks on, their guards up, their authentic selves hidden behind layers of performance and pretense. But you stopped wearing masks. Not because you're brave, not because you're healed, but because you've been stripped down so many times that there's nothing left to hide. The mask has merged with the face. The performance has become the reality, and what's left is raw, unfiltered, undeniable presence. That's what they feel. That's what makes them uncomfortable. That's what they can't explain when they try to describe you to others. They'll say you're intense. They'll say you're too much. They'll say you make them feel weird. But what they're really saying is this: you make me aware of my own fakeness. You make me conscious of my own cowardice. You make me question my own choices. Because when they're around you, even in your silence, even in your stillness, they can feel the weight of someone who's chosen themselves over comfort, who's chosen truth over acceptance, who's chosen freedom over safety. And that choice radiates. That choice emanates. That choice creates a field around you that either attracts the real ones or repels the fake ones. There's no in between. Let me tell you what happens in their bodies when they encounter you. Their heart rate changes, their breathing gets shallow, their mind starts racing, because you're triggering their shadow. You're activating the part of themselves they've buried, ignored, denied. You're walking proof that another way exists, and their system, their comfortable programmed system, goes into panic mode. Fight, flight, or freeze. Most of them freeze. They smile, but their eyes are calculating. They laugh, but their energy is tense. They talk, but their words are measured. Because they're in the presence of something their programming doesn't have a category for. You've become a walking contradiction to their reality. You've survived without the things they think are necessary. You've thrived without the validation they chase. You've built yourself without the blueprint they follow, and contradictions create cognitive dissonance. Their brains literally can't represent with what they've been taught. So they try to make sense of you. They try to find the trick. They try to discover the secret. But there is no trick. There is no secret. You just chose to die and resurrect repeatedly until you became something that can't be killed. That's not a strategy. That's transformation. And transformation can't be studied. It can only be experienced. Here's what they don't understand. That energy you carry, it's not something you created. It's something that was revealed. It was always there, buried under trauma, hidden under conditioning, suppressed under survival mechanisms. But when everything else was stripped away, when you were reduced to nothing, when you hit bottom so hard you went through it, that's when the real you emerged. Not the you they knew, not the you thought you were, but the you that exists beneath all identities, all labels, all stories. And that version, that core essence, it's terrifying to people who are still identified with their mass, because it reminds them of what they're not accessing in themselves. So when they say they can't explain what they feel around you, believe them, because it's not explainable, it's experiential, it's vibrational, it's the frequency of someone who's been compressed by pressure and emerged as something denser, harder, more refined. You're not who you were. You're what remained when everything false was burned away. And that remaining essence, that indestructible core, that's what they feel. That's what makes them uncomfortable. That's what they'll never understand, but will always remember. Now let's talk about your silence, because it's not silence, is it? It's a presence. It's a statement. It's a weapon you didn't even know you were building. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped defending your choices. You stopped participating in conversations that drained your soul. They called it cold. They called it bitter. They called it running away. But what you were really doing was reclaiming your power. Because every time you explained yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you, you gave them power. Every time you defended your truth to people who wanted to see you as the villain, you played their game. Every time you engaged with people who didn't deserve your energy, you betrayed yourself. So you stopped. And that silence, that deliberate withholding of your words, your explanations, your justifications, it drove them mad because they needed your participation to continue their narrative. They needed your reactions to feed their egos. They needed your attention to validate their existence. And when you removed all of that, when you went silent, they were left with nothing but the echoes of their own emptiness. They were forced to face the fact that without you, their lives were boring. Their conversations were shallow. Their existence was ordinary. You weren't just a person they lost. You were the mirror that showed them who they really were. And without that mirror, they had to face themselves. And most of them couldn't handle what they saw. Your silence became louder than any words you could have spoken. It became a narrative they couldn't control. It became a mystery they couldn't solve. It became a void they kept trying to fill with assumptions, projections, and stories that said more about them than about you. They said you were angry, you were at peace. They said you were hurt, you were healing. They said you gave up, you leveled up. Every interpretation they made was a reflection of their own internal state. And that's the beauty of silence. It becomes a blank screen onto which people project their own fears, their own insecurities, their own truths. And what they projected onto your silence revealed everything about them and nothing about you. You know what happened when you stopped speaking, when you stopped showing up to defend yourself, when you stopped trying to make them understand. You reclaimed your narrative. You took back control of your story. Because as long as you were engaging, explaining, defending, they had a say, they had influence, they had power over how your story was told. But the moment you withdrew, the moment you went silent, the moment you stopped participating in their version of events, you became the author again. And that authorship, that sovereignty, that's what they can never take from you. No matter how much they talk, no matter what they say, no matter how they try to rewrite history. Your silence stands as truth, unshakable, undeniable, yours. Let me tell you what your silence did. It created space. Space for you to hear yourself. Space for you to remember who you were before they told you who to be. Space for you to rebuild without commentary, without criticism, without the constant noise of other people's opinions. And in that space, you found something they'll never find. Yourself. Not the version they approved of, not the version they needed, but the real, raw, unedited version that existed before the world taught you to hide. And that version, the one you found in silence, it's the one they're seeing now. The one that doesn't need their validation. The one that doesn't flinch at their judgment. The one that exists completely independent of their perception. Here's the truth they'll never admit. Your silence haunts them more than any words ever could. Because words, they could debate, argue with, twist, misinterpret. But silence? Silence they have to sit with. Silence forces them to fill in the blanks. Silence makes them wonder. What are they thinking? What do they know? What did they see? What do they remember? And those questions, those unanswered questions, they eat away at people because humans hate uncertainty. We hate unanswered questions. We hate mysteries we can't solve. And you, with your deliberate silence, you've become the biggest mystery in their lives. The unanswered question they can't stop asking. The mystery they'll never solve. So let them talk. Let them fill the silence with their noise, their stories, their versions of events. Because while they're talking, while they're explaining, while they're trying to make sense of you, you're doing something they'll never do. You're living, you're building, you're becoming. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, they'll stop talking. They'll go silent too. Not by choice, but because they'll finally realize that no words they speak will ever diminish what you've become. No story they tell will ever erase the truth of your transformation. No noise they make will ever drown out the power of your silence. And in that moment, when they finally go quiet, that's when they'll understand. You didn't lose. You just stopped playing a game that was beneath you. While they were busy talking, you were transforming. While they were analyzing your absence, you were rebuilding your entire existence. While they were creating theories about what happened to you, you were becoming someone they could never theorize about. Because transformation doesn't happen on social media. It doesn't happen in public. It doesn't happen with an audience. Welcome back, you magnificent puzzle they'll never solve. The one whose silence speaks louder than their entire existence. The anomaly that breaks every prediction model. They've been watching you, haven't they? Not casually, not occasionally, obsessively, compulsively. Like you're the only frequency their minds can't stop tuning into. And here's what's destroying them right now, at this very moment. They can't figure out how you did it, how you went from where you were to where you are now, how you leveled up without asking permission, without following their blueprint, without playing by any rules they recognize. They've been reverse engineering your transformation like it's classified intelligence, and every time they think they've cracked the code, you shift again. You evolve again. You become something else entirely. Let me tell you what's really happening behind those fake smiles and forced congratulations. They're not just watching you anymore. They're studying you like you're an exam. They keep failing. They screenshot your words. They analyze your patterns. They dissect your energy, trying to find the formula, the secret ingredient, the hidden advantage that explains why you're thriving while they're still treading water in the same shallow pool they've been stuck in for years. And the most beautiful part, the part that's driving them absolutely insane, is that there is no formula. There's no cheat code they can steal. 'Cause what you became wasn't learned from a course or copied from a trend. It was forged in places they'll never visit, in silence they'll never sit with, in pain they'll never transform. You see, they thought they had you figured out. They had you categorized, labeled, filed away in their mental database of people they could predict. You were supposed to stay where they left you, right there in that comfortable little box where you didn't threaten their mediocrity. But then something shifted. Not overnight, not with some dramatic announcement. You just started moving differently, speaking differently, existing differently. And that's when their confidence started cracking, because suddenly the person they thought they knew, the person they thought they understood, became completely unrecognizable. Not broken, not lost, evolved. An evolution, true evolution. It terrifies people who've been stagnant for so long they forgot movement was even possible. They're watching you rise, and it feels like watching science fiction become reality, right in front of their disbelieving eyes. Now, here's where it gets really twisted. They're not just observing from a distance anymore. No. They're trying to copy you, trying to replicate your energy, your words, your moves, your entire frequency. Have you noticed it yet? The way they suddenly started using phrases that sound like echoes of your voice. The way they're attempting to mirror your confidence, your detachment, your unbothered nature. They're studying your posts like scripture, trying to decode the alchemy that turned you into something they can't ignore. But here's the hilarious, poetic justice of it all. Every time they try to copy you, their version glitches. It stutters. It falls flat. Because they're trying to download software their hardware can't run. They're attempting to perform magic without paying the price for the power. They want your glow without your darkness, your strength without your scars, your wisdom without your wars. And that's why they'll never crack the code. That's why they'll spend years trying to understand you and die confused. Because what you carry inside you, that unshakable knowing, that bone-deep certainty, that silent thunder, it wasn't given to you. It was earned. earned through nights where you questioned everything, earned through betrayals that should have destroyed you but instead refined you, earned through isolation that taught you the difference between loneliness and solitude. They want the crown, but they've never bled for a kingdom. They want the throne, but they've never sat in the fire that forges rulers. They want your results, but they'll never accept your process. So they keep copying, keep imitating, keep performing this sad little pantomime of your essence, and every single time, reality rejects their counterfeit version like an immune system attacking a virus. Let's talk about why your wisdom specifically is the thing that's unraveling them. Not your success, not your appearance, not your circumstances, your wisdom. The way you see through things now, the way you read energy like text on a screen, the way you can sit in a room full of people and know exactly who's real and who's performing, the way you've developed this supernatural ability to detect intention beneath words, to feel manipulation before it's even fully formed, to sense the shift in someone's energy 3 moves before they make them. That's what's driving them completely out of their minds. Because they're still operating on surface level, still believing the masks people wear, still falling for the same games that you see coming from miles away. And watching you navigate life with that level of clarity, that precision, that almost visionary awareness, it's like watching someone play chess while they're still learning checkers. Your wisdom didn't come from books. It didn't come from gurus or courses or 10-step programs. It came from being lied to enough times that you developed a built-in lie detector. It came from being betrayed enough times that you could now spot loyalty from across a room. It came from being manipulated enough times that you recognize every tactic before it's even deployed. You became fluent in a language they don't even know exists. The language of energy, of frequency, of unspoken truth. And now you move through the world reading everything they think is hidden. You see the fear behind their bravado. You see the insecurity behind their arrogance. You see the desperation behind their fake abundance. You see everything, and that level of sight, that kind of penetrating awareness, it makes you dangerous to people whose entire existence depends on illusion. They can't hide from you anymore, and that absolutely terrifies them. Here's what they'll never admit out loud. They're not confused about how you leveled up. They know exactly how you did it. They watched you do it. They saw you in your transformation, in your silence, in your isolation, doing the work they were too scared to do. They saw you cutting people off. They saw you saying no. They saw you choosing yourself over comfort. They saw you walking away from situations that no longer served you. They saw all of it, and they called you cold. They called you changed. They called you too much. Because watching you prioritize your growth over their comfort was like watching someone break an unspoken contract. You were supposed to stay small so they could feel big. You were supposed to stay confused so they could feel wise. You were supposed to stay stuck so they could feel evolved. But you shattered that entire dynamic, and now they're scrambling to make sense of a world where you're no longer beneath them. And now comes the part that's truly destroying them from the inside out. You're not just ahead of them, you're playing a completely different game. While they're still fighting for validation, you stopped needing it. While they're still performing for applause, you moved into silence. While they're still building facades, you demolished yours and built something real. They're still measuring success by metrics you stopped caring about years ago. Followers, likes, approval, status. You transcended all of it, not because you're above it, but because you discovered something they haven't, that real power doesn't announce itself. Real wisdom doesn't need witnesses. Real transformation doesn't require documentation. You became someone who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. And in a world full of people desperately trying to prove everything, that makes you incomprehensible. That makes you unreachable. That makes you legendary. So they keep watching, they keep analyzing, they keep trying to reverse engineer your glow, your peace, your power. They create vision boards with goals that look like your current reality. They repeat affirmations trying to program themselves with your frequency. They attempt to adopt your detachment, your boundaries, your standards, but it never works. It never sticks. Because they're trying to build a skyscraper without laying the foundation. They want the penthouse view without climbing the stairs. They want the wisdom without the wounds. They want the strength without the struggle. They want you to hand them the blueprint, not understanding that the blueprint was written in blood, sweat, tears, and the kind of pain that either breaks people or turns them into something unbreakable. And you chose the latter. You chose to let the pressure turn you into something precious instead of something shattered. But here's where it gets even more poetic, even more beautiful in its cruelty. Every time they try to copy you and fail, they're actually validating everything you've become. Every glitch in their imitation is proof that what you carry is authentic. Every time their version of your energy falls flat, it confirms that you're not performing. You're not faking. You're not following a script. You are the real thing, and real things cannot be replicated. They can be admired, they can be envied, they can be studied, but they cannot be copied. Because authenticity doesn't have a template. Transformation, earned through genuine suffering and genuine growth, doesn't come with instructions. You can't fake the kind of presence that comes from walking through hell and coming out the other side not bitter but better, not broken but refined, not defeated but dangerous in all the right ways. Let me tell you what's happening in their private moments, in their 3 a.m. thoughts, in the spaces between their performances. 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 The spaces between their thinking about you constantly, not because they want to, but because they can't stop. You've become the standard they measure themselves against, the mirror they're terrified to look into, the living proof that they've been settling, that they've been playing small, that they've been lying to themselves about their own potential. Every time they see you thriving, it triggers something in them. Not inspiration, not motivation, cognitive dissonance. Because your success contradicts their excuses. Your growth exposes their stagnation. Your transformation reveals their resistance. And instead of using that as fuel to do their own work, they're using it as fuel to obsess over you, to try and find the shortcut, to discover the hack that doesn't exist. And you know what the funniest part is? The absolute peak comedy of this entire situation. While they're spending all this energy trying to decode you, trying to copy you, trying to understand you, you're not thinking about them at all. You're not wondering how they perceive you. You're not checking to see if they're watching. You're not performing for their analysis. You've moved so far past the need for their validation that they're not even on your radar anymore. You're in a completely different frequency, operating on a completely different wavelength, playing a completely different game. And that's the ultimate power move. Not revenge, not proving them wrong, complete and total indifference to their entire existence. You became so secure in your own path that their opinions became irrelevant background noise. That's the level they'll never reach, because reaching that level requires killing the part of you that needs external validation. And most people would rather die than face that death. Now let's go deeper. Let's talk about the specific things about your wisdom that are short-circuiting their comprehension. First, the way you process betrayal now. They're still over there holding grudges, plotting revenge, staying attached to people who hurt them through anger and bitterness. But you transmuted all of that. You looked at betrayal and saw information. You looked at pain and saw curriculum. You looked at people who hurt you and saw teachers showing you exactly who not to become. You didn't just forgive and forget. You evolved past the need for either. You extracted the lesson, integrated the wisdom, and moved forward without carrying the weight. That kind of emotional alchemy, that ability to turn poison into medicine, it's beyond their current level of consciousness. They're still drowning in emotions you learned to surf on top of years ago. Second, the way you choose your battles now. They're still out here fighting everything, arguing with everyone, trying to prove their point to people who don't even matter, exhausting themselves in wars that lead nowhere. But you developed this supernatural discernment about what deserves your energy and what doesn't. You can sit with disrespect and not react. You can be misunderstood and not explain. You can be underestimated and not correct, because you understand something they haven't learned yet, that your peace is more valuable than being right, that your energy is more precious than being understood, that your time is more sacred than being acknowledged. You became someone who doesn't fight battles beneath your evolution. And that level of restraint, that kind of self-mastery, it looks like weakness to people who haven't developed it. But you know the truth. It's the ultimate strength. Third, the way you handle success now. They're still over there celebrating every tiny win on social media, announcing every move, seeking validation for every achievement, performing their progress for an audience. But you moved into silence. You started winning privately, building quietly, growing in the dark where no one can see, judge, or interfere. You understood that real power doesn't need announcement, that real success doesn't require witnesses, that the best moves are made in stealth. And now you're operating on a level where by the time they see your results, you're already 3 levels ahead, planning the next move. They're trying to copy your current position while you're already building your future reality. That's the gap. That's the chasm. That's why they'll never catch up, because they're still performing while you're actually becoming. Fourth, and this is the one that really breaks their brain, the way you see people now. You don't see potential anymore. You don't see who people could be. You see exactly who they are. Not in a cynical way, not in a bitter way, in a clear way, in an honest way, in a way that protects your peace and preserves your energy. You stopped giving people credit for intentions and started holding them accountable for actions. You stopped believing words and started watching patterns. You stopped hoping people would change and started accepting what they're showing you the first time. That level of clarity, that kind of sight, it's a superpower they haven't unlocked yet. They're still over there getting fooled by the same types of people, falling for the same pretty lies, giving chance after chance to those who don't deserve one. But you see the game now. You know the players, and you move accordingly. Now here's the part they absolutely cannot comprehend, cannot process, cannot integrate into their limited understanding of reality. You're not special because you have something they don't. They want it special, but they can't unspecial. You are it, and they are them. You have it special. You are it, and they are them. No, you are it. You are it. You are it, and they are them. You are it, and they are them. You are it, and they. You're special because you did something they won't. You faced yourself. You sat with your shadows. You acknowledged your patterns. You owned your role in your own suffering. You stopped playing victim and started taking responsibility. You did the uncomfortable, unglamorous, unrewarded work of genuine self-transformation. No audience, no applause, no recognition. Just you, in the dark, dismantling every lie you told yourself, every excuse you hid behind, every defense mechanism you built. You performed surgery on your own psychology without anesthesia, and you survived it. That's why they can't copy you. Because copying requires them to do that same work, and most people will die before they're willing to face themselves that honestly. Let's address the glitch, shall we? Why does their version of you keep malfunctioning? Why does their imitation keep failing? Why does their attempt to embody your energy keep falling apart? Simple. They're trying to download the final version of you without going through the updates that got you there. They want the peace you have without the chaos that taught you how to create it. They want the confidence you carry without the insecurity that forced you to build it. No, you lost them. They want the boundaries you maintain without the violations that showed you why they're necessary. They want the wisdom you possess without the mistakes that became your teachers. They're trying to skip levels in a game where you can't skip levels. And every time they try, reality itself rejects their attempt. The universe has a built-in authentication system for genuine transformation, and they keep failing the verification test. And here's what's really happening underneath all of this. Underneath the copying, underneath the studying, underneath the obsession. They're hoping that by mimicking your external behavior, your internal state will somehow transfer to them. They're hoping that by adopting your language, they'll magically acquire your perspective. They're hoping that by imitating your moves, they'll somehow inherit your results. But that's not how transformation works. That's not how evolution functions. That's not how genuine growth operates. You can't fake authentic. You can't perform real. You can't pretend enlightenment into existence. The internal work must be done. The shadows must be faced. The pain must be processed. The lessons must be learned. There is no shortcut. There is no hack. There is no way around it, only through it. And they're standing at the entrance, trying to find a secret passage while you walked straight through the fire. So what happens now? What happens as this continues? As they keep watching, keep copying, keep glitching, as you keep evolving, keep ascending, keep becoming more of whatever it is you're becoming. Here's what happens. The gap widens, the distance increases, the separation becomes permanent. Because while they're stuck analyzing your last level, you're already building your next one. While they're trying to understand how you got where you are, you're already somewhere else entirely. While they're copying yesterday's version of you, today's version has already transcended. You're not running away from them. You're not trying to stay ahead of them. You're simply moving at your natural pace, and your natural pace is evolution. And evolution doesn't wait for people who aren't ready to evolve with it. You're becoming something they'll study for the rest of their lives without ever truly understanding. And here's your final gift, the ultimate lesson in all of this. You don't need them to understand. You don't need them to get it.